Good morning. It is 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and that means it's time for another episode of First Chapter Fun. This is episode 47, would you believe? 47 days in a row I've been reading from books of other authors and introducing you to them and to their work, and it's absolutely fantastic to see so many of you joining every day and new people joining and discovering this series. This is absolutely wonderful. So for those of you who have not yet joined First Chapter Fun, this is the place on my Instagram Live down here and on my Facebook Live up here that I broadcast a new chapter of a different book, or the first chapter of a different book, I should say, every day until May the 8th. And we have lots of people joining. We have Amanda who says 47. Well, yes, it's 47. We have Voices Press, thank you. We have Heather. We have, of course, Anita Kushwaha. I'm reading from her book today. I'm very excited to introduce you to her. We have Sandy, we have Glennie, we have, oh my goodness, we have lots and lots of people. We have Nancy and Judy Rose and Era. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Good morning, Glennie. So much for joining us. I'm so pleased. I hope you're all doing well. I was up early this morning. I tend not to sleep in on weekends. I think not because I don't want to, I do. I just don't seem to be able to. So I was up at 7 and I went out for a walk for about an hour and a half, and it was lovely. It's gone a bit cloudy again, but it was just so nice to get out, because I have been stuck in the house quite a fair amount. So I hope you're all well. I hope you're managing still. Isn't it a bit strange how this new setup of, I don't know, it seems to have become almost normal, really, which isn't a good thing. And I'll be very glad when it goes back to normal, you know, pre-pandemic normal. But we're another day closer. That's the way I look at it. Every day that passes that we're in isolation or social distancing or whatnot means that it's another day less that we'll have to do it in the end, right? That's the way I look at it anyway. So let me tell you about today's book. Today's book is absolutely gorgeous and sumptuous. To me, it looks like a delicious box of chocolates. Look at that gorgeous cover. It is so, I know it's the wrong way around on Instagram. You can't change that. Sort that out, Instagram. Come on, because you can on Facebook. Isn't that gorgeous? The Secret Lives of Mothers and Daughters by Anita Kushwaha, who I'm going to introduce you to. Now, Anita and I work with Alice, same publicist, so I'm going to give Alice Tibbetts a huge shout out because she's fantastic, she's wonderful, she's whip smart and lovely to work with. Hello Alice, we love you and you're great. And she was the one actually, when I told her about First Chapter Fun, she said, oh, maybe you could read from Anita's book, and here we are. So let me introduce you to Anita, who is watching. She's certainly on Instagram. I've done it again, my silly comment, there we go. I can see her. I'm messing around with my Instagram and trying to talk to you at the same time, and I obviously can't do two things at once. But she's Anita's watching on Instagram, and I will post this video as I always do. It'll go on my story, but it will then go to my Instagram feed as well. With a nifty swipe up link on my story, because I've learned how to do that, and I will save it of course to my Facebook page. So ask Anita, leave her some comments, ask her about her writing, ask her what she's working on next, and once I've introduced you to her through her bio, maybe there are more questions you'll have for her. So let me read you Anita Kushwaha's bio. So she grew up in Aylmer, Quebec, so a fellow Canadian. Her road to publication included a fulfilling career in academia, where she studied human geography at Carleton University and earned an MA and a PhD. MA and a PhD. Impressive, to say the least. And she's also a graduate of the Humber School for Writers Creative Writing Programme. Her work has appeared in Ms. Magazine, The Globe and Mail, Quill and Quire, The Literary Review of Canada, The 49th Shelf, Open Book, Word on the Street, and Canadian Living, among others. Her first novel, Side by Side, won an Independent Publisher Book Award Silver Medal for Multicultural Fiction just last year. She is also the author of a novella, The Escape Artist, but her latest novel is the one I'll be reading from, and that is called Secret Lives of Mothers and Daughters, and it published in January 2020 by HarperCollins Canada. Huge shout out to HarperCollins Canada, my publishers, and they are absolutely great. And Anita's book was named a Books with Buzz by Canadian Living, chosen as Word on the Street's March Book of the Month, a most anticipated spring fiction selection by the 49th Shelf and SavvyMum.ca, and was a recommended read by the Girly Book Club. And Anita lives in Ottawa. Impressive resume, I should say, and Anita's absolutely lovely. So let me show you that cover again. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, Hank. Good morning, Suzanne. Oh, I have a friend from Switzerland, Suzanne Orfer, who's just joined on Facebook. How lovely. I'm so pleased to see you. Okay, so let me show you that gorgeous cover again. It is, I know it doesn't come through that well on Instagram and Facebook, but it is gorgeous. Like I said, it reminds me of just I love chocolate. I'm Swiss, what can I say? And Canadian and British. It's complicated. Anyway, it looks like a gorgeous, sumptuous, delicious box of chocolates to me. And it's just calling out my name, saying, read me, read me. And the first chapter, the prologue actually, which is what I'm going to read to you, is absolutely gorgeous too. So let me read you the back cover copy. Oh, and Anita's website is anitakushwaha.com. You'll find out tons more information about her and her work. So, not the secret life. I keep saying it's not. It's Secret Lives of Mothers and Daughters. And this is the blurb. For readers of Shilpi Samaya Gowda's Secret Daughter, brackets, which was absolutely stunning, and Nancy Rickler's The Imposter Bride, a breathtaking novel from Anita Kushwaha about the ties that bind mothers and daughters together and the secrets that tear them apart. Veena, Mala and Nandini are three very different women with something in common. Out of love, each bears a secret that will haunt her life and that of her daughter, when the risk of telling the truth is too great. But secrets have consequences, particularly to Asha, the young woman on the cusp of adulthood who links them together. On the day after her 18th birthday, Asha is devastated to learn that she was adopted as a baby. What's more, her birth mother died of a mysterious illness, leaving Asha with only a letter. Nandini, Asha's adoptive mother, has always feared the truth would come between them. Veena, a recent widow, worries about her daughter Mala's future. The shock of her husband's sudden death leaves her shaken and convinces her that the only way to keep her daughter safe is to secure her future. Mala struggles to balance her dreams and ambition with her mother's expectations. She must bear a secret, the burden of which threatens her very life. Three mothers bound by love, deceit, and a young woman who connects them all. Secret Lives of Mothers and Daughters is an intergenerational novel about family, duty, and the choices we make in the name of love. Doesn't that sound lovely? Sounds gorgeous. Oh, hello, Rosanna. Thank you. She's just great to be here. Thank you for joining. I appreciate that so much. Here we go. Secret Lives of Mothers and Daughters. Out now with HarperCollins. You can get your hands on this right now. And I will now read you the prologue. She checked her wristwatch again. Stop, she ordered. The disobedient second hand continued to tick, chipping away at the time she needed to make things ready. Ideal. Why wasn't the second hand listening? Was it chipping faster? Seconds. Only seconds and they would arrive. Nandini Shukla stood by the doorway with her fists perched on her slender hips and inspected the softly lit nursery with microscopic intensity. The walls were painted pale yellow, the colour of butter, a shade she and her husband, Prem, had decided would work whether the proverbial stork brought a girl or a boy. Adjacent to the door to her left, against the wall, was the crib, made of sturdy oak and stained in a natural finish. Tucked in one corner and peering through the wooden bars was a caramel teddy bear with eyes like black marbles, dressed in green overalls, a replica of the toy Nandini had snuggled with when she was little. The clerk at Toys R Us who sold them the crib had reassured them that it could be converted into a toddler bed in about 15 minutes with nothing more than a screwdriver, a wrench and a little effort. 20 minutes for those who were less handy, he said, giving Nandini a presumptive grin. Apparently, he went on, many new parents were opting for convertible cribs since they grew with the child, particularly during the early years when they sprouted like weeds. Although most parents tended to shop while the bun was still in the oven, so to speak, he added, glancing at her flat stomach. How old was their little one? 8 months, she had told him, crossing her arms over her midsection to shield herself from the puzzlement she knew wasn't far off. Where had the little one been sleeping until now? He had asked with a chuckle. A drawer? She had forced a shy smile, felt her cheeks redden, and then asked what colours the crib came in other than white. Where had the baby been sleeping? Who could say? Maybe inside a drawer like the clerk had joked, or on a dirty mattress tucked in the corner of an even dirtier room, or nestled safely between its birth parents in bed, while dipping into a lake of dreams. It bothered Nandini that she didn't know, in the same way it bothered her that the nursery remained unfinished. True, the room was far from orphanage austere. They had the essentials, crib, glider, changing table, even a tall walnut bookcase filled with toys and books they had been collecting for the past couple of years, since the adoption marathon first began. Prem's old Thomas the Train figurines, an illustrated Ramayana for children, her yellow-haired Cabbage Patch Kid. These heirlooms, at least, warmed the space with homey rays. Still, the naked nursery walls reminded her something was missing. They had made plans for an elephant mural overlooking the crib, sky blue with its trunk upturned, a good luck charm. Could its absence be what was niggling at her? Adoption limbo being what it was, Nandini had assumed they had enough time to get the mural painted. Over the past 2 years, it always seemed as though they had too much time, which was why she had spaced out their tasks, worried they might reach the end of their to-do list before the baby arrived, turning the nursery into a mausoleum of their unrealised dreams. Then, 3 short days ago, life ceased being a waiting room. She got the call while she was at her desk composing yet another briefing note, an ordinary day. "Are you sitting down?" asked their caseworker Susan. A girl, an infant just 8 months old, an adoption that left the door open a crack. Susan wouldn't elaborate any further over the phone. The rest they would find out in person. Nandini sucked in her cheeks and surveyed the nursery again, slowly periscoping between the corners of the room. Soft footsteps approached her from behind. She felt Prem's arms belt around her waist and his chin balance on her shoulder. "Everything looks great," he said. She could tell from the tone of his voice he was trying to convince her. It wasn't working. "The walls look so empty," she started, gnawing on her thumbnail. "We'll have time to decorate later." Nandini forced down a bump of a swallow. "Nothing feels ready." Her least of all. He cinched his arms around her waist another notch. "Nan, I know you're nervous, so am I. But we've waited so long for this. We're as ready as any parents." She quit gnawing, left her rosy thumb in peace. "Parents," she echoed, a shiver of excitement tingling up her spine. She wriggled around and looked deeply into his dark eyes, which reflected the strange mix of joy and worry weltering inside her. "What if we aren't, Prem?" He covered her with the warmth of a gentle smile. "We are, in the only way that matters." She searched his face for signs of doubt, but found not a wrinkle. She envied him. "In my mind, she's still a perfect dream and I haven't ruined anything yet." He tipped his head to the right. "Is that what you're worried about?" Nandini nodded, dropping her gaze. "Not being good at it," she muttered, "at being a mother." He planted a soft kiss on the middle of her forehead, lingering. Fear can't stop us from being good parents, Nan. We'll figure it out together. We want her and we love her already. What else matters? Nandini took a deep, slow breath, knowing Prem was right. They were about to be granted everything they had ever wanted. How could she still be wrangling with these doubts? She lifted her chin. Do you think we've missed her first words? Probably, but not her first steps. Or her first haircut, or her first birthday. I hope she likes chocolate. They quiet, jubilant laugh. Then the doorbell rang. Nandini's eyes widened. For a moment, she stopped breathing. She's here, Prem said. I'm sorry. She's here, Prem said, breathless. Their daughter. She was waiting on the other side of the front door for them to welcome her home. Their lips mirrored the same broad smile. They clasped hands and hurried downstairs. Standing on the porch, covered in cool evening light, was Susan, dressed in a black trench coat and tan trousers. The petite woman was leaning over to one side, weighed down by the bulky baby carrier, her right hand gripped tight around its handle. Nestled inside was the infant, who wore a scarlet peacoat, violet leggings and white shoes. The baby was sucking on a pacifier, appearing content as she took them in with a pair of arresting grey eyes. Today I play the stork, Susan said, entering the foyer. She set down the carrier, then slipped off her coat and her loafers. Nandini led her into the living room while Prem hung the caseworker's coat in the closet. Susan placed the carrier on the coffee table and took a seat on the couch. Nandini perched beside her and, with great attention, quietly noted the baby's dark hair, knuckleless fists, pudgy upturned nose, and her eyes, those gem-like grey eyes. She had never seen anything like them. The wonder of the moment was interrupted by the itch Nandini had felt earlier in the nursery, the peak of something missing. Did their baby have her birth mother's eyes? In what other ways would their daughter take after the stranger? A hollowness bloomed below her navel. She remembered feeling the same void when, years earlier, a doctor had told her she would never carry children. She saw a windless cavern, an empty house. It occurred to Nandini that nothing of significance was missing from the nursery. It was she who was lacking, she who would never be able to take credit for their baby's singular eyes, and so much more. She who wasn't blood. Susan unsnapped the safety buckles and lifted the infant out of the carrier. Here you go. Nandini reached out. Her hands felt weightless as she held their baby, theirs, for the first time. How could she be so light? Were her bones made of twigs? Nandini realised she was holding in a breath, holding out for cries of rejection. None, however, disturbed the still air. Nandini cradled the baby in the crook of her arm. She didn't whimper or fuss, but rather held Nandini in her cool, passive gaze and continued suckling. Soothing warmth radiated through the infant's wool coat. My own little hot water bottle, she thought. My own little sunbeam. Her given name is Asher, Susan told them. Asher, Prem repeated as he knelt beside Nandini and took hold of the baby's chubby hand. I like it. Asher Shukla, Nandini added. It just sounds right, doesn't it? Susan smiled. You look right together. A few blissful moments passed in beaming and swaying and misty-eyed gazing. As I mentioned before, the birth family have left the door open a crack, meaning should you ever want to contact them, now or in the future, they've given us permission to share their information with you. Do they have any requests of us? Nandini asked, reluctant. She knew all about open adoption rhetoric and its potential benefits. Nevertheless, it frightened her, the power of blood, the loyalty it often inspired. Nandini felt the hollowness again. She couldn't compete with blood. No, Susan replied. This isn't an open adoption. If you don't want to reach out to them, that's your choice. But you might feel differently someday, or Asha might want to learn more about her family history when she's older. The good thing about this arrangement is it gives you the choice when the time's right. If, Nandini thought, not when. Like I said, though, it's one way, Susan continued. They don't know anything about you. You don't have to worry about a stranger showing up at your door. Nandini's shoulders slackened. What a relief. What can you tell us about them? It's a bit of a sad story, really. Susan adjusted her glasses. The birth mother passed away and the birth father couldn't manage raising Asha alone. How did he die? How did she die? Prem asked. I don't know the details, but she was very ill. Nandini snuggled Asha a little closer. What kind of illness? I'm not sure, although she did leave something behind for Asha. Susan reached into her purse and pulled out a slender white envelope. If you decide to tell Asha about her adoption someday, this letter might provide some answers. She set the envelope on the table and rose to her feet. Now, it's time for me to leave the three of you to get acquainted. I'll stop by next week to see how you're doing. If you need anything, you know how to reach me. Susan grinned at Asha one last time before politely showing herself out. As Nandini listened to the front door shut, she peered at the envelope and her daughter's name written across it in graceful cursive, the name given to her by another woman, an unknown woman, an ill woman, a woman who had lost her sunbeam to an early death, the very sunbeam nestled warmly in Nandini's arms. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, but as Asha shifted, all Nandini felt was guilty for benefiting from a tragedy so profound it had destroyed her daughter's family of origin. In that moment, Nandini's fortune didn't feel like a blessing bestowed after a time of trial. Instead, she felt as undeserving as someone who had inherited a windfall from a distant, unknown relation. A current purred along her arm, gathering in her fingertips like static. She surged with an impulse to tear up the letter, divorce her newly formed family's unblemished present from Asha's birth mother's untimely end, erase the proof Asha ever had another mother. Nandini was mid-reach when Asha's pacifier popped out of her mouth. The soother rolled off Nandini's lap and bounced on the hardwood floor, stopping against a leg of a coffee table. Asha's tiny lips smacked, expectant, like a chick anticipating an insect, but when all they found was each other, her disappointment quickly dissolved into whimpers, and whimpers into sobs. Nandini had been waiting to hear Asha's little baby voice, and there it was, only there was nothing minute about it. Her cries funneled upward and rained over them. Something about the urgent sound kindled urgency inside Nandini. She sprang for the plastic nub, handed it to Prem for sterilising and asked him to hurry. See, he beamed. I told you we were ready. Then he knelt and kissed Asha's forehead before dashing to the kitchen. Asha's cries mushroomed as she watched her comfort being spirited away by a strange man. Nandini held her daughter over her heart and rubbed her back, whispering words of reassurance. Yet underneath her docile exterior, something charged through her, something she doubted she possessed a few moments ago. Shh, she cooed. Whatever it was, she felt the force driving along her veins, swelling inside the hollowness below her navel. Nandini hadn't known she could feel this awakened, on fire. Amber flames danced against the walls of the windless cavern now. The wails of life stirred the heart of the empty house inside her. Whatever it was, it made Nandini want to lean in toward her daughter's cries, not run away from them. Asha settled down. Nandini held her closer and caressed her kitten-soft hair. Whatever it was more than eye colour, more than blood, and she had it. With her dark eyes, Nandini stared down the letter. Perhaps Asha's birth mother had possessed the quality too. But Nandini was Asha's mother now, her only mother. I've got you, she spoke into her daughter's little ear, and I'm never going to let you go. The next lullaby she hummed was Happy Birthday. Wasn't that great? That's just so lovely. Such a lovely, lovely opening, such a lovely prologue. The Secret, Secret Lives of Mothers and Daughters by Anita Kushwaha. Check this one out. It's just beautiful. It really is lovely. Just gorgeous and sumptuous, and it's just so nice to read. So I hope you enjoyed that chapter. Lots and lots of comments. Oh, that's funny. We have Ira who says, love how you narrate Susan's character. This is how she's going to sound in my head when I read this book. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's interesting. Somebody says that that Facebook froze for them. That's strange. Did it freeze for anybody else? I hope not. I hope I'm still on Facebook. I think I'm still broadcasting. Certainly on Instagram it worked. Anyway, technical issues aside, I hope you enjoyed that chapter. I certainly did. The way I prepare for these, I print the chapter out and I read it through a couple of times and try and get a handle on the voices and the change of characters. I am not an audiobook narrator, and I have the utmost respect for audiobook narrators. They are incredible performers. But it's fun to do. It really is. I'm really enjoying myself. So that's how I prepare. And I was reading it yesterday thinking, this is just, it's just gorgeous. Like I said, like a lovely sumptuous box of chocolates. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed that chapter as much as I did. Let me tell you about tomorrow's book. Tomorrow, would you believe tomorrow, episode 48, is the first time I'm reading a book from a male author. I don't know why that is. But that's just why it is, and I'm so excited to introduce you to this one. Mike Chen, A Beginning at the End. Kind of ironic how this came out in January, and I'll tell you why tomorrow. But this is the book I'll be reading from. I know you can't see that very well. There, that's a little bit better. So Mike Chen's A Beginning at the End. He writes incredible books, and I'm excited to introduce you to them. All right. So that was today's episode of First Chapter Fun, which I hope you enjoyed. Go check out Anita's book. Leave her a question on Facebook. I know it will disappear. You won't be able to on Instagram, but you can then go back and leave questions once I've posted it to my feed in about, 15 minutes or so. So you can do that. So tomorrow, 11:30 a.m, it's a date. I'll be here again. I hope to see you then. In the meantime, I hope you're able to enjoy Saturday, maybe get out a bit if you can, or read a book, because that's always good entertainment as far as I'm concerned. But I hope I'll see you again in the morning. So until then, as always, please stay safe, stay kind, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.